What's up, guys? Welcome back to Worth the Wait. I'm your host, Cookie Miller, and today we are talking about meal prepping. I know everyone is getting ready for January 1st, which, by the way, falls on a Monday this coming year, so that's really exciting. So I just want to share with you guys a few tips that will help you to make sure that you have your meals prepped so that you can make progress on your weight loss journey this year. So let's get into it. Now, this is an important topic for us to address because nutrition is such a huge part of weight loss in itself. In fact, you could reach your weight loss goals solely with nutrition without working out at all. So I always like to tell my clients that the nutrition portion of what they're doing is really the foundation. It's really one of the biggest parts of weight loss, of just seeing those numbers on the scale go down. And then when we think about exercise, especially weight training, that is what helps us to build the body that we want. So this is what helps you to change the shape, the aesthetic look of your body. And then, of course, when we're talking about cardio and things like that, we have some different types of benefits that we get from those things, right? So we improve our cardiovascular health by doing different forms of cardio and things like that. We don't want to go too crazy with the cardio, which I've made many episodes about that in the past. So I'll let you guys check those out. But let's talk about this nutrition. I remember in the beginning of my journey, oh my gosh, I was all over Instagram, all over YouTube, and I was seeing people, I don't know if you guys remember this back in the day. I don't see people do this as much nowadays, but people making the exact amount of food that they need, right? Prepped into these perfectly put together containers for every single day, for every single meal. And back then there would be this thing where everyone would share like their countertop with all of their meals prepped for the entire week. That's definitely one way to go about it, right? So that is just traditional meal prep. But I remember that making me feel like I needed to make my meals look that way. I needed to have just as much variety in my meals. I needed to be spending 4 or 5 hours or my whole day on Sunday prepping meals. Back then on IG, there was also this other trend that was more so really for physique competitors. So think about like girls who do bikini competitions and things like that. And there was this one girl that I followed and she introduced this gallon baggie method. Y'all, listen. I definitely tried it, okay? It was a method where the idea was that you wanted to fit all your meals for the day in one like case and one like lunchbox. So you would put your meals into these gallon Ziploc bags and then you would just pour it out into the one container that you carried for all of your meals and then warm it up. And it was a way to have every single meal with you everywhere that you went all the time. Now, I can see how this may make sense for someone who's doing a physique show, but for me, that wasn't even my goal. So I was just doing the most for no reason. And I think that's why I really wanted to record this episode, is to help you guys to understand that you don't always have to do the most. And sometimes when people are moving a certain way, it's for their particular goal. And that action may not necessarily align with the goal that you have for yourself. So if you are not going to do that traditional meal prep with all the pretty containers lined up on your counter for every single meal, right, and all your snacks lined up, then what is the alternative? Well, the alternative is to do something called bulk prepping. You can think about this as batch cooking. Even with the holidays recently having passed, you could think about this as like the same technique that you use when you're cooking Thanksgiving dinner, okay? You are going to choose a couple of proteins. So think about a meat if you are someone who eats meat, or lentils or beans if you're someone who's vegan or vegetarian. Tofu could be another good option if you're vegan or vegetarian. If you are not vegan or vegetarian, then you could go with fish, you could go with a meat. So I'll use myself as an example because this is what I actually do pretty much every week. So I choose 2 protein sources. This week, I think I have chicken. So I have baked chicken, and then the other option that I have is fish, salmon. Okay. So you choose 2 food options, 2 meat options, protein options. The next thing that you're going to do is you're going to pick 3, maybe 4 different vegetables, okay? So think like you want a green leafy vegetable, maybe like a spinach or a kale. So this could be something incorporated into a salad. Then maybe you want something that'll give you a little bit of crunch, like a Brussels sprout, right? A roasted Brussels sprout. So you could do something like that. And then you can fill in the gaps of like what other veggies you tend to like. I wouldn't go with something like a corn. You know how they say corn is like the candy of vegetables? I wouldn't necessarily go there. I would look for, deep purple vegetables like purple sweet potatoes, or I would look for really green leafy veggies. Okay. Next, along those same lines, is that you're going to pick a complex carb to go here as well. So that could include some of those veggies that I mentioned. Like I think last week I did eggplant, so that would be a good option to include here. But think quinoa, think lentils like we talked about earlier. You could even do a mix of like brown rice and lentils. I know that Trader Joe's, for example, has a really good rice mix. It's like red lentils and rice or something like that. Really good. But choose something like that as another one of your sides. Again, just like you would if you were preparing Thanksgiving dinner. So now you are going to season everything a little differently, okay? So meaning like if you have fish, for example, is fish a good example? Maybe it's not. Let's do the chicken, although the fish could be a good example. Let's say you have chicken and you're gonna make one version of your chicken like a chili lime something kind of chicken, and then the other one you're going to do more so like a basic kind of salt, pepper, just roasted or air fried or whatever piece of chicken. Okay, so season some of your meat differently than you do the rest. The reason for this is to give you some variety. Now you're going to bring in your kitchen tools. I know at this point, everybody must have an air fryer. If you don't have an air fryer, please go get an air fryer. Like, you need a tool, okay? You can also use an Instant Pot. You could also use a convection oven. I have one of those, the one from Costco. Whatever your tool is going to be. And of course, you can use a traditional oven or whatever. But this is just, the point of this is to make this a little bit of a faster process for you to go through so that meal prepping won't be so daunting, so that you won't quit, because it's a very important part of the process. When you have your meals prepared, it just helps everything to go along smoothly, okay? So you're going to choose the tool of your choice. If you happen to have that convection oven like I do, the one from Costco, or even if you have the Instant Pot, or even if you have a different type of air fryer, sometimes you're going to have those racks in there depending on how big it is. You can be making these things at the same time. You can throw your veggies in there for just a couple minutes and they're done. You've seasoned them, you've done all the things, you know how you want them prepared. And this is when I'm talking about things like asparagus or broccoli. Those things will be done quickly. Now, if we're talking about potatoes, those will take a little bit longer. But when we're talking about the air fryer, nothing is going to take forever. Nothing is taking an hour at a time. So you make those things and then you prep up all your veggies, all of your Brussels sprouts, you put them into a container, all of your, salad that you've made, for example, with your spinach and your kale, like we talked about earlier, you put that into a container. Okay, now you move on to like your bigger sides, maybe your sweet potato, your rice. If you got a rice cooker, throw your rice and lentil combination in there with some chicken stock and be done with it. Okay, season it up a little bit, put whatever types of spices that you like, and then you're good to go on that, okay? And now when it comes to your proteins, of course, you throw these in the air fryer. You may have to do varying times. For example, you may start and put your chicken on the top rack, let that cook for, however many minutes, depending on which tool you have. And then at the end, put your fish, because we know that the salmon is going to cook a lot faster than the chicken, for example. So then you would put that in. But this is taking you maybe a couple hours out of your Sunday to prep for the entire week, versus the alternative, which would be trying to cook every single day when you get home, which that's going to be very stressful, right? Or the alternative of just kind of choosing whatever is easy to get, and then you find yourself in a situation where you're constantly overeating on your calories. What I really love about this method is you may have an idea in mind for how you're going to kind of mix things up. Maybe you're going to have some chicken with some baked potatoes with a veggie or whatever, but you never know how you might end up mixing that up. So for example, sometimes when I have chicken, and I don't know if this is just because of me recently living in Mexico, but I have been turning everything into a taco. Okay. But you can get you a corn taco shell. I try to stay away from the flour taco shells, and I try to get the stuff that is freshly baked because that does help as well with additives and things like that. So I'll get a tortilla, and now I will take that same chicken, shred it up real quick, and make myself chicken tacos or something for dinner. Or you could take that same chicken, and instead of you doing it like a basic meal, like I mentioned before, you could take it and again, either chop or shred the chicken and make yourself a bowl, right? Because you have your rice and lentil mix from the other meal that you had an idea for. Now you have your chicken that you put on top of that, and everything else is easy, right? What else would you put on a Chipotle bowl, for example? You can get a pack of canned beans really, really easily and add that to your bowl. Then you can do veggies, right? Chopped up bell peppers or whatever that you would normally put in your Chipotle bowl. Salsa is really easy to buy. So these things are not difficult, I promise you, but I really prefer the method of bulk prepping because of the fact that you're not set to what we used to see old school IG when you would see those laid out containers of this is exactly what your meal is going to look like. So it also kind of gives you something to look forward to because you're like, oh, well, how am I going to mix this up today? Or how can I mix this up today? So I want you guys to try that out. Try it out and see how it goes. See if you find yourself being able to more easily do meal prep one. And then is it easier for you to switch up the meals so that you're not getting completely bored with what you're eating? Okay. Now, let me tell you guys what we have coming up. We are wrapping up or getting ready to wrap up this season of Worth the Wait. I'm so excited for you guys to see our 2-part grand finale. You are going to absolutely love it. It will be a video episode. So I know some of you listen on Apple Podcasts or whatever your preferred podcast platform is. And some of you only watch on YouTube. And sometimes we have video, sometimes we don't. So that last 2-part series of the end of season 3 will be on video. So you can definitely check it out on YouTube. That's number 1. Number 2, I haven't even announced this to the public. I haven't sent out any emails or anything, but I'm letting you guys know first because you listen to the podcast. So I figure that you're the person or you are the people who are probably way more interested in this. So for my 2024 coaching, I have 5 spots available as it stands right now. I suspect that by the time I announce that, or if I even get to announce it this year, those are going to go super fast. So again, January 1st is on a Monday. So I will be starting folks on January 1st. I'll have some other start dates for you to choose from. And then I have one remaining December 18th date that you guys can check out as well. And then the very last thing, so many of you got in this class whenever we were having the big Black Friday deal and all of that. The class still has about 9 seats available. It is weight loss for women over 30. I am going to be walking you through step by step how to set yourself up for success in 2024 when it comes to weight loss. You can go to cookiemiller.com/masterclass if you want to get in that spot. If you want to do one-on-one coaching, just go to cookiemiller.com. And I think that's it, y'all. So make sure you're following at Worth the Wait on IG. Make sure you're also following me at Cookie Miller. And I will see you guys so soon. Talk to y'all later. Bye. Thank you guys so much for listening to this week's episode of Worth the Wait. Remember, if this episode or any of our episodes have helped you, please consider leaving us a 5-star review. Again, we are at Worth the Wait podcast on IG or at Cookie Miller. And if you're ever listening to an episode and you want to take a screenshot and tag us, we would absolutely love that. And you'll definitely get reposted.